What's up, guys? Welcome to the Man Up Club Presents podcast. I'm your host, Celena Lena, aka Sis from Sis Lil Bro. Of course, aside from my music career, I am the youth and program director of the Man Up Club. If you don't know what the Man Up Club is, it's a nonprofit mentor leadership organization based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we serve the greater Twin Cities area. We serve young men between the ages of 13 and 24 in life skills, social skills, academic discipline, and civic responsibility. The goal of the Man Up Club is to graduate young men from high school, to keep them out of the prison pipeline, and to push them to go on to a college or trade after high school, okay? We exist to help them in their success stories. How does that sound? Great? I know. Okay, so if you want to support that cause, go to www.themanupclub.org. Today's wonderful topic is about authentic creativity and staying true to your identity. What you'll find is the best authentic art comes from the best authentic artists. You know, if you're creating something that you want to be unique and true to you, of course, the artist has to be true to themselves and they have to know themselves as well. So we're bringing back a guest who has been here before. He's 25 years old. He is an upcoming producer. He is a student in college studying linguistics, and he's also working towards eventually working for our City Council of Minneapolis, Ward 3. He is Lael Ware.
Yay.
Say what's up, Lael.
What's good? What's good, everybody?
How you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good.
Yes. What time you wake up this morning?
Not gonna lie, woke up around like 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I woke up at 9 too.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it. Let the people know, what have you been doing with your life? Like, what do you do in the creative space exactly? What does your day-to-day look like?
A couple different things. So, as you know, current Man Up member Chrome.
Okay.
Been working with him pretty recently.
Okay.
You know, of all places, I saw him at a Shy Baby concert.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it was so funny.
Oh, dope. How long ago was that?
I think it was only like 2-3 days ago.
Okay, so y'all chopped it up over there.
Yeah, so then I don't even know what it is. Some people would say like spirit hit you. I was just like, you know what? What's your email? I'm gonna send you some stuff. Had nothing made.
Wait,
So,
he sent the email to you, reaching out to you.
no. So I saw him and then just something hit me and I was like, hey, what's your email? I'm gonna send
okay.
you some stuff.
Got you.
So then had nothing made though. So I was just like
Okay.
that whole night and then the little bit of the early morning, I was just figuring out like what exactly sounds like Chrome. And then that's when I realized like, okay, it's like when I think of Chrome, I think of like, you know, the hood trap genre.
Okay.
I feel like that fits his aesthetic really, really well.
I got you.
But I don't know how to make hood trap. So right now, as far as like beat making, that's like the thing I've been putting a lot of my energy in for right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at that same time, I'm still like, you know, just listening to various other genres and stuff that I want to make into a new sound for like Minnesota. Because at my heart of hearts, I'm what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with a C.
Curious?
No, not yes, but no, not that one. It's almost like it's like collage or
Collecting?
almost. It's like curator. That's the word.
Okay, I got you.
I'm
You're
a curator at
You're a
heart.
curator. Cool.
So it's like there's so many different like sounds I want to like smush together and push through our collective sensibilities to make like something else.
You see, what I like about Lael is that he pays attention to who his clients are. Clients, aka artists, right? You got a producer, you know, he's an upcoming producer, and he's wanting to reach out to these artists and make tracks for them. But if you pay attention to his answer, you'll notice that he's like, okay, you know, Chrome, he strikes me as kind of like, his sound is like that hood trap sound, you know? So he's not a producer who's just making tracks off the hot press and sending it to these artists and being done with them. Like, he's really paying attention to the vibe of these artists, you know? And I think that that's what great producers do. They understand who an artist is. They understand aura. They understand the things that make a person who they are, right? And so when we're talking about, creativity and that, you're obviously talking about paying attention to someone's identity. So when it comes to your identity, what are things that make you who you are? Okay, let me ask this question in a different way. If we had a pot on the stove and we were making Lael Ware, like what ingredients would we put in there? There's obviously a ton that makes up a person, but like for example, when I think of Cardi B, a couple things come to mind straight off the bat. Mother, stripper, loud, boisterous, and yeah, like you know what I'm saying. So it's like there's certain characteristics. It's a vibe. So when it comes to you, like what's the ingredients of your identity?
Yeah. And shout out Cardi B though. That was not a shot. She meant that all lovingly and just matter of factly.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Right. I put
just
it
to
plain.
play it safe because I know certain people would be like, she called her a stripper. It's like Cardi B will call herself a stripper.
Right.
That's her art. That's what she likes to do. But as for me, I guess you would say curious. What's the in the vein of keeping things honest? A lot of procrastination.
Okay. I like the honesty.
Thoughtful and witty. Yeah, we'll say witty.
I would also. Could I put an ingredient there
go
too?
ahead.
Grills. Y'all, if y'all see him right now, obviously he got his grills. I really dig the grill. Like real talk.
I really do. Like it was like I was even having this conversation with my dad where he was just like, "Well, you got so many grills. That ain't your culture." And it's like,
what? That ain't your culture.
Yeah, cause
your dad's black.
Yeah,
and he said that ain't your culture to have grills.
Yeah, cause he's very like. He's like Minnesota heavy. Like he was here. Like we have roots in Minnesota for like centuries. Like even before, Minnesota was a thing. Even before like America was a thing. Because we have a lot of like indigenous admixture and stuff like that. Although I identify as black, but what's it? He was here for like a lot of the beginnings of stuff. So like when hip hop first came to Minnesota, he was there. When like various like fashion started to change, he was there. When like on the more inglorious side, when like a lot of the gang culture started to like form up, he was around. And like even like there was certain static he would get into because he would like purposely like not participate in that aspect of things.
Okay. He was just kind of trying to keep you in line, I guess.
I guess. It's also because my mom's from Louisiana, so it's kind of like that thing of like whose culture is like gonna win out when that's not really the case.
I got you. Yeah, so what's you got these different flavors about you, know what I'm saying? Like it's like obviously we don't know each other deeply, but it's like what's intriguing about you is like you're doing these different things. Like how is somebody I know people be judging you off the grill. We talking about identity. It's like people will judge you based off your looks all the time. And then depending on who you are though, you're either going to see it as like you're either going to see it as an asset or something that you look down upon. Like me, I'm just like, oh, like he's cool. Like that's the first impression that I get. Like, oh, I want a girl too. Like I'm trying to be shining like that. But then some other people will look at that and be like, oh, he probably been to jail.
There's been a couple of people there's been a lot of preconceived notions when like they see my like outward appearance, and then there's like a whole lot of things. Like I've had people come to my face, like especially in high school, where it's like, didn't I see you like bobbing with a bunch of other dudes? And I was like, no, I don't recall that. And at a certain point, you just kind of just gotta let it just like be what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep doing your own thing. But also just a word to the wise for like maybe some of like the younger people that could be watching stuff like that. People's like judgment is gonna look different than this the straight up like anger or look down upon kind of thing. Like there's I know I can't cuss, but like there's a certain like fetishization that can also happen when you have a certain appearance
Mm-hmm.
where they might uh exoticize you basically.
Okay. Give an example.
Like like for instance, again, won't put too much info out there, but there was someone who I was dealing with, and when they found out about like, my background and stuff like that, she was like, "Oh, that's really cool because like if we had kids, they wouldn't look too dark. Like they would
Mm.
kind of have like a Mexican look kind of going."
Mm.
So it's like these are like the different, hues of what judgment can look like.
Right.
Am I making sense?
Yes. Instead of demonizing a person 100%,
Yeah.
it's like maybe their judgments can also be kind of lighthearted in a way.
Um, I guess I would say more like coveting, where like, cause all of it is in service to them. That's what makes like these type of like judgments bad, because it's like once you break that notion of like what they want you to be, then that's when they get upset.
Mm. And we left off talking about the judgments that people make on your identity just based off of your appearance, based off of your look. We got to start there, because before you listen to somebody's music or appreciate somebody's art or, buy somebody's painting, it's like most of the time you really don't get to know who that artist is. But whether you're artist or not, like relating person to person, we've all gone through identity issues. We all go through judgments and things like that. So, um, Lael, you were just talking about how this girl was telling you before. She's like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to have kids with you because then,
Oh
you
no,
know,
she would be okay with having kids
I would have
because
kids
they
with you
wouldn't.
because they wouldn't be too dark." Like,
Yeah.
obviously her perception of dark skinned people is unfavorable because
Mhm.
if you were darker, like she obviously believes that, lighter skin is better or more favorable, like a lot of the world.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the word that you gave, like, to these people listening and tuning in. It's like you cannot control what other people think about you. You can't control what other people do. You can only control what you put out there, you know?
Also, just to make it clear, I did dead that after that comment. Just to make it
Wait,
clear.
make that what clear? Say it again.
Oh, just to make it clear, I did dead that relationship after that comment.
I know that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's crazy out here. It really is. And so speaking of relationships as well, like that's an important factor of life to pay attention to when we're talking about identity because we are only attracted to what we're attracted to. So it's like, how do you identify a woman that you're attracted to? Like, what are the qualities that you look for?
Um, I think for me, it was trying to, because like with my current partner, ah, rewind it, but with my current partner Miriam, a lot of the initial things that attracted me to her was just how free she was, where it was like um uh because this might make her mad at, but we met at a club, so there was like a lot of like she just seemed very like free flowing and like free, other adjectives that are synonymous with free,
Mm-hmm.
where it initially like uh caught my interest and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then like later on when we like furthered like our relationship, it went past like that initial like attraction of like, oh, she seems really free. Like she was very witty, she was very She's very responsible. She's very how would you say? She's very she's very put together.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's not perfect. There's times when like all of those adjectives wouldn't fit her, but I think that's kind of what love is, where you're like not, super pressed when they don't fit that, standard of that you have for them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, have I answered your question?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
you have the wittiness, her being put together, then the way she carries herself. Like those are things that you look for when it comes to like the identity of a woman, like a partner that you want to be with. That
What do you
definitely,
look for in a man?
you
Well, I
know,
don't want to assume your sexuality, but
yes, yes, I'm straight.
okay.
Uh, what's crazy is we actually have a segment
Hmm.
where I actually will say what I look for in a
Really?
man, and you will express what you look for in a woman.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a segment. This is perfect because you didn't even know about that. Yeah, this is a segment that we like to call "I Like When a Man."
Okay.
Okay. So I like when a man is direct with what he says. I like when a man says what he means and means what he says. A man of his word. Um, you're studying linguistics, so it's
Hmm.
like you know how important it is for a person to truly convey exactly what they mean in their minds. I mean, that's why we have words, is to be able to derive meaning out of them, to be able to have an impact of the actions that are going to happen after they say what they need to say. And so a man who is 100 with his communication, that's somebody that I can rely on.
True.
It's like I know that his word isn't going to be void. Like you said, of course, they're not perfect. People
Hmm.
make mistakes. People say things they don't mean all the time. But if it's a consistent characteristic where I know that you're saying exactly what you mean and you mean what you say and you follow up with what you say, then that's somebody I can trust.
I feel that.
What about you? I finish the sentence. I like when a woman.
Um, I like when a woman is authentically themselves, bringing it full circle back to the main topic and all that. But yeah, I feel like in most societies and cultures around the world, there's like this kind of like boxing in or like smushing of women and some aspect or the other.
Mm,
And I think in this particular society and culture, that being like America or the West, there's this squashing of women's like potential, where it's like you can express yourself maybe more than other cultures, but we're still gonna like, you know, push you into what avenue we feel it's best, whether that's like, you know, maybe you don't want kids, but we're gonna push you into being a mother.
mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to be like a homemaker. Well, if you're gonna be a homemaker, you have to be a homemaker in this avenue, like where you have to be quiet and you have to like be docile and stuff like that. But maybe that's not like your personality. Maybe you like to make a home, but like you are very like loud and like, opinionated. I like I'm always amazed when anyone can go against the grain when uh everything else in their circumstances tells them like no.
Mm.
Now of course there's like a limit, like with a Kanye West type situation. He's going against the grain, but this is I don't know what this is, but this is not good. This isn't a
Okay.
good go against the grain.
I got you. No, I got you. Yeah, because it shows that you have your own mind. Like it shows
Yeah.
that, because the truth of the matter is when you're talking about identity, we influence each other a lot. Human beings, individuals, we influence each other a lot. And it's good to have similarities with people. It's good. Culture, tradition, religion, customs, practices, those are all good things to be a part of because we find community through those things. But also what's just as valuable is individuality, you know? Um, being able to say, hey, I see what you're saying, but I disagree. And, you know, being able to do that in a respectful way and stand on it, like that's how you find your identity, is like you're truly comfortable with yourself when you do face those pressures. But you're still able to have the courage to stand out and be like, I know that I'm not following the social norm right now, but that's just who I am. But there's also a difference between being an individual and being defiant, though.
Have you have you gone through like a situation where you've had to like, you know, buck against like people's expectations of yourself? Like someone like even better, like is there an example of when you had to like buck against people's expectations but you really, really cared about their expectations?
Yes, I already know. It's with my family. Whew. So like on my dad's side of my family, you know, we're raised with slight gender norms, which is, you know, that's it's not too bad, but you know, there was times where I felt like I was being pushed into a mode of like a woman should do this and a woman should do that, and it's like, yes, I do understand that, you know, um but sometimes it would come to a point where it's like, okay, um it doesn't have to be so, I guess, strict. And that comes from like what is it called? Generational differences a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for example, like being the woman that I am today now, I I do take pride in, you know, I'll say it like this. I believe that, you know, a woman creates her home, you know, like she nests her home,
Yeah.
you know, in that sense. Like if I was to use that that's a good metaphor, is like she nests her home. So it's like, you know, she creates like the vibe, she creates like the aura, like she'll be the one that, you know, puts the decorations up, you know, kind of um cleaning most of the time. Not to say that the man is the one that will never clean, but it's like primarily like we can we can take the lead on that stuff, is I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
But it's like, okay, but if you expect me to be the one to pick up after everybody just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a woman,
Yeah.
it's like, no. No. You pick, like, you should clean your dishes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You should fold your laundry too. It's like you can do that for yourself. But am
Take
I going to be
hold
the
it.
one to take that as the lead? Yeah. So,
Mm.
yeah.
And Jake, what about you? You ain't getting off the hook of this.
Here comes Jake, everybody.
I'm not even gonna lie. What was the topic again? I wasn't paying attention.
Identity, and just, you know, what are some social norms that people have tried to put on you and your identity, and then how have you broken out of people's expectations of you?
Especially expectations of people that you really, really minded and cared about.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like I've expressed it before. Within the, I was in a very tragic car accident, but I had a lot of people hit me up and over the internet and whatnot, and they had a lot of beliefs on what I was, and I had to change that from, who I really am. Obviously, I can express it all I want, but like you can't have somebody else understand something that they'd never been through, and so I gave a lot of grace and wasn't given enough. At least that's how I felt. You know what I mean? So like within the social norms, like I was called a couple different things, within the aspect of that specific situation that didn't make me feel great. But I didn't stick with those because everybody told me different things, and especially through like middle school, high school, people tell you things, and like you really stick with it because you're like, oh, am I really that bad, or am I really wrong? Do I really believe what they're telling me? But the biggest thing from like that social norm thing, like it completely eradicated any like fear and belief that I had on anybody else thinking differently about me, because I knew exactly what I went through and I knew what to expect going forward, and I wouldn't expect anybody to understand. You know what I mean? So like I have a very good open mind about it, but just my opinion,
That's actually a good point because like in youth psychology and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
people I forgot what it's called, but like uh we try to avoid calling like kids like youth offenders and stuff like that, or like criminals, because if you do that, there's, I forgot what the phenomena is, but like if I go to like you specific, especially if you're a child, and say like you're a homemaker, you're a homemaker, you're a homemaker, you're a homemaker, or if you're like something more like unsavory that people can use their imagination on, you're gonna grow up like thinking like, okay, that it must be some truth to it, otherwise people wouldn't keep calling me that.
Mm. We gotta dive into that. Just how impressionable young people are, and already throwing labels at them. And then when they get older, they grow into those labels. And it's like, okay, you've called out exactly what you didn't want to create. So that's very interesting. Really interesting. This in the last segment, he said something really interesting. He said the psychologist stated that when you tell a young person
Anyone,
something,
honestly.
oh, okay, not just a young person, but really when you tell anybody a label on them as a person, then they subconsciously become that label. So it's like when you say that, okay, yeah, you're a youth offender, or you're a sex offender, or they accuse you something. Let's just say it's not true. Okay.
Mhm.
Then, something happens in your brain where you're actually subconsciously doubting your identity. Obviously that has, that's subjective. That doesn't mean if you call somebody something, they're just going to automatically become that.
Yeah.
But we do have a subconscious that pays attention to those types of things, and maybe you attract it unawareingly. So Lael, do you have an experience where you were labeled as something, and then you started to notice that you became that, or no?
Yeah, I think that's when like the whole situation where like people would thought I was like a super into drugs, people thought I was gonna be like a super senior, people thought I was in like gangs and stuff like that, where I slowly started to like almost push myself into it like subconsciously. I wasn't even trying to do it. And then like when I haven't talked to him in like a really long time, but I still consider him a friend just for what he did. Mikkel, where uh, have you heard of like running a 30 or like body boxing and stuff like that?
Nope.
So it's a whole thing.
Not me.
So it's a whole thing where I did that, and then I come out of there, and then my friend Mikkel, he comes up to me and is like, "Why did you do that?" And I was like, he was blah, 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 blah. And he was like, that was really dumb. That was really stupid. Like, you're being a follower right now.
Wait, so what is it? Explain it. What is
Oh,
run? Yeah.
oh. So basically, you like, since this is like school, you like go in the bathroom and just like basically like fight whoever you're with for like 30 seconds, maybe more. And then just like, you're usually going at the body because like facing, you can get in trouble and stuff like that. So you keep it at the body because like any bruising, you can like hide and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I got into it with this other light skinned kid. He called me like the jellyfish from like Shark Tales and stuff like that. The weird thing is I had a good comeback, but in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're not a comedian. You're not like supposed to be like the witty guy. You're supposed to like be about action. You're supposed to just get cracking immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's where I was like pushing myself into, but that's what happens when you're like, because like a mind is very malleable. So like when the kids were like saying like, you were this, you were this, you were this, I was like, well, I must be a that. So
Mm.
that's why I give so much like love to Mikel, because he like kind of like helped break me out of that.
Out of that mold that people were trying to push on you.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing. And switching to creativity and how people
Yes.
can, like, people can just put these molds on you. So it's like sometimes that even gets into the creative space, because think about being an artist, but then being forced to come into this identity that you necessarily don't feel that's true to you. It's like, oh, I like, for example, somebody could come up to you and be like, oh, I think you should, I think you should start, painting these type of paintings, like more realistic. Could you do like more realistic, and really your heart's in wanting to do something more abstract,
Yeah,
or
like
it's like,
Dada or something.
right. Or somebody come up to you and be like, you should start rapping about, you should start rapping about what they rapping about here, like, you know, rapping about these girls and getting this money, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I mean, I'm not really trying to rap about that. I'm trying to rap about something that's like, I'm trying to tell my story, you
Mhm.
know? So when it comes to that, do you see a lot of that in the creative space, or the people that you're networking with in the creative space, are they pretty much already walking in their identity and creating from that space?
Luckily, personally speaking, I haven't had to interact so much with people who are like, you know, what about this hit? What about this? They're not necessarily chasing hits. They're just chasing for greatness, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, shout out to Aries. Like he's uh been trying to like make dance music, specifically like house, more prominent in like the Minnesota area. But he's definitely trying to like have it be, good and listenable, but he's not trying to like do like the popular thing just because it's popular, if that makes sense. Like even with you, yeah, I've seen you rap and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you do your thing. And one of the things I do appreciate about you is that you're not worrying yourself with like, what's gonna put me on like a playlist. It's more of, is this good or not? I feel like artists should obviously keep in mind about like trends and stuff like that, but I think they should leave stuff like that up to like producers and stuff like that, or A&Rs. I feel like that's the A&R and stuff and people like that's job to like worry about trends and like uh uh and what's popular and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. That's their job to like,
Right. To find the audience for their artist.
yeah.
But or actually vice versa too.
Yeah.
Sometimes the audience is already there.
Mhm.
You got the crowd, but you're really looking to sign that artist that will match that crowd, you know.
Yeah.
But it's the artist's job to be authentically themselves. And yeah, what you'll find is that, a lot of people already know this, whether you're in the music industry or not, but like once you get signed to a big label, it's like everybody and their mama wants to warn you, if you get signed to a big label, just don't switch up. Like, just don't change. Like, don't change your image, don't change your message. Because people already know, like, once that big machine gets behind you and you got them labels and you got the resources and you have access to the masses and things like that, it's like, yes, you start to easily lose yourself because you're trying to make that money. You're trying to be appealing to other people. So that's why it's so important, especially as creative people, to stay authentic. And I appreciate you for acknowledging what I'm doing with my music, because I mean, the music and the messages that I put out is authentically what I believe in, and it's authentically what I believe about the world around me. Like, I like to encourage people. I'm about improving myself. I'm about being in touch and in tune with my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings. And it's like, because I see myself as valuable. Um, and for me, like, I believe that I'm a daughter of God. It's like, I want other people to feel that same love. And so, and I want it to come from a real place too, because I'm human too. So
Yeah.
I've been through things, and I get sad. Like, it's like that Miley Cyrus song, the one that's like, I get I get I get bored, I feel happy, I
Oh
get
yeah,
silly,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
choke on my own words. It's like, it's like I'm still a human. So I just want to be able to put those real feelings and thoughts and emotions out into my music. Um, but you ain't
Mhm.
gonna catch me. You ain't gonna catch me like calling a girl out her name, or like
Yeah.
dissing the community, or like dragging us down as a people. Bragging about killing people. Like, you're not gonna catch me doing that,
Like
because I don't live
what's
that lifestyle, and I don't support it.
true? Like
So
what's that one saying where it's like, cuz I really, one of the things I really appreciate about you and Jake is like there's this saying that's been going around. It's like nothing there's no hatred like a Christian's love and stuff like that. So
there's
I'm
no hatred
like a
like a
Christian's love,
Christian's
cuz like the
love.
whole evangelical movement and stuff like that where like they don't really talk so much about God's love. It's more about like hell and stuff like that, and how you're evil, or how like if like like there's a gay couple and they like you know
You're
if they're
going to
gay, it's like
hell.
you're going to hell. You're
Mhm.
going against God's word. Like that whole thing.
The way that he did the accent, I love it.
Similar to what your dad did.
Right.
It's like that whole thing where it's like, you claim to be a disciple of Jesus when it's like Jesus didn't really have hatred like that. Like there's only like a couple, at least in the, canonical Bible, there's only like maybe like a handful of times where you saw like Jesus like angry, and it was usually on like people that were like essentially blaspheming, where it's like you're selling goods in a temple. Yeah. I'm going to flip this table now because what is this even doing here type deal. He didn't like flip a table because he saw two people of the same sex making out.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because the thing is, like, we are created, like, so, and this is me speaking as a believer and everything, because when we're talking about identity, I identify myself as a positive, inspirational hip-hop artist. I also identify myself as a Christian hip-hop artist. I claim both of those labels. And so...
I see why you and Rosalind get along so well.
Yeah, so... But the thing with that is, it's like, there are so many people that will put God in a box, and it's like, okay, but we're made in God's image, so it's like,
you see
God
how
wasn't...
low-key blasphemous that is? Like you're putting God in a box.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, no, we're made in God's image, so God, yes, God is love, but also God hated though too. Because the thing is, God hates the bad,
Yeah.
So it's like, hate what God hates, love what God loves. But it's all because God loves us.
Yeah.
If you have a child, you're going to hate if they get drunk and die in a car accident. Because they made that choice that put them in that situation.
Yeah, but you see there how it's like you're hating like abstract concepts and not like a person. Like you're not hating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not hating You're not hating the person. It's about what they're doing and how they're carrying themselves and how they live their life because you love them.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, people just need to know, what is true to myself, how do I want to carry myself, what's important to me, and how can I represent that in my art, and how can I be authentic to that. The sky is a limit when it comes to creativity. You can go as far as you want to go with it. I mean, so that's another thing about you too, is like, you're not just producing, but also something that you kind of picked up is FL Studios, right? Indeed. Yes. So it's like,
sorry, I may have woke up at 9, but I'm still
he's still waking up. No, you good, you straight. But yeah, so the fact that you're picking up this lost craft and you want to implement that into your creative portfolio, like, that's a good thing. I mean, with me, I'm not just an artist, but I'm also somebody who eventually wants to learn how to mix and things like that. So one question that I have for you, I've been wanting to ask you this the whole podcast. What do you believe about cultural appropriation? Cultural appropriation, for those of you who don't know, it's when one culture, tribe, or people group acts in a similar way to another culture, tribe, or group, and that action is not of their own authentic culture. For example, I'm going to give you the time that I was made aware of it when I was in college, and I created a song where I had this like Hispanic beat, and I in the beginning of the beat, I was just like saying some sounds like I like yeah, I was just like I like on the track because it was a Hispanic beat. And so one of my friends, she was just like, Celena, she didn't say it in any type of like disrespectful way, but I forgot what she said exactly, but she was just saying like, that's cultural appropriation. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Maybe take out the I.
Yes, exactly. That's what she said. She was like, I love, like, obviously, I support your music and everything, but like, I'm just saying, like, other communities might find this offensive because like, obviously you not being Hispanic, Latina, you being like, ay, like that
I
could
don't know. I
be
heard
offensive.
Filipino people did. There was like a gray area where there was like they could be considered Hispanic.
Okay, so here's the thing. No.
Oh,
So I'm half Filipina, and I will say no, but I will say this. The Philippines was colonized by the
Spaniards,
Spanish,
right?
yes, for several years. I forgot the exact number. So there are a lot of cultural values and customs that we took from the Spanish, and it's even in our language. Like, in our language, zapatos, patos is shoes, and zapatos in Spanish is shoes. Um, yeah, so there's just a lot of words that are similar,
Okay, that's weird to me.
And then yes, like a lot of Filipinos, like I don't know about other Filipinos, but for me, like I speak Spanish very well, like with the accent and everything.
Yeah.
My last name is Ian Miguel, which sounds Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
So there's those things. But yeah, how do you feel about cultural appropriation? Okay, one last thing too.
Yeah.
There's also like, white people wearing braids, for example.
Oh, yeah,
Not just any kind of braids.
Yeah,
but
like box braids. And
yeah,
stuff
like
that.
box braids. Like, cause there's this girl on social media. She's this white girl, and she, is going viral and stuff like that because of the way that she's wearing her hair, like
Alexis,
box braids.
Texas, or something like that.
I don't know her
Something
name.
about Alabama, something.
Yeah, but she wears beads in her hair and everything.
Yeah.
And she's getting a lot of attention because there's like black people that's walking around, and there was this one black lady that literally chased her down and was like, "Take those out now! Take those out now!" And she was like, "Oh my God, like why are you doing?" So, anyways, how do you feel about cultural appropriation?
I feel like it's a nuanced conversation. I think as far as it being real, I think it is very real. I think I think my only thing that I might get pushback from people is that I say there's a lot more gray area to it than people want to give credit to, where people are like, it's like a black and white thing. Ironically, I don't know if that is true. I think we definitely do have black and white examples, like with the Texas lady or whatever her name is. But I think but specifically like with the uh Filipino Hispanic thing, I do feel like that's a gray area of sorts. I'm not gonna say like you are this, but I do wonder if it's the same, at least level of appropriation, if you literally grew up speaking Spanish, if you probably have Hispanic heritage within you. I don't know if that's the same thing as like a white lady wearing box braids. Now, I'm not gonna lie, II is crazy work, but on a creative level, maybe you could have like gotten a Hispanic person to put the eyes in there, because like we can't ignore that in this society, what's king is, it's not God, it's not anything, it's money. That's king here. So it's like, usually for me, what I consider like the type of cultural appropriation that I don't stand by is when, one, you don't give credit to the people or the place that you're taking from, but then also when you're the sole benefactor to it, like whether it be like cultural capital or like inroads in an industry or just straight up capital. If you're the only one benefiting from it, then it's like, okay, you're being a leech.
Right.
So that's the kind of that's my feelings on like cultural appropriations. The one that I care about and I'll go to bat to bring down is when someone is solely benefiting from something that isn't theirs. And
Okay, I got
even
you.
if it is theirs, because like there's other people, like you get a lot of these examples of like, this is where my dislike of certain like hood, not even hood, but just like, like the whole like trap star kind of thing goes on, where it's like like Trapler Ross or like No Jumper and something like that. What a lot of like the people who like what the Trapler Ross and Adam 22s will like use as like an immediate defense of like what they do is like, well, the street dudes, love what I do. And it's like, okay, but like the street dudes aren't the only ones who have to deal with this reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as much as we may not like it, Black people are judged as a group, not as individuals for the most part.
Right.
So it's like when you show these like when you make these YouTube documentaries of like, does King Bond have 11 bodies? Like, he's not the only one who has to deal with that. Where it's like, look what these inner city youth are doing. They're like murdering each other by the dozens, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so I think that's more my thing. It's like there's a little bit too much individualism going on in certain instances when it comes to cultural appropriations, but then there also isn't enough collective like thinking as well.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I agree with you that there is a gray area because, okay, as an artist, like you said, you should have free creative reign to just explore different ways and, you know, methods of expressing yourself. And, you know, yes, I'm not, I don't know, like, I could only be me, but okay, yeah. For example, I'm not African. Okay, I'm not authentically African, but
Can you expand on that? What do you mean by authentically African?
I wasn't born in a country in Africa. I'm not from, you know, Ethiopia. I'm not Nigerian.
Conversation for a different time.
Yes.
I really do want to talk to you about that, but okay.
Okay. I mean, but I still listen. I'm African American. I know where my roots come from, and I claim Africa in that way. But anyways, all I'm saying is my brother and I have a song that has, you know, African sound to it, and it's like, okay, just because we're not from Africa, that doesn't mean that we can never make a track that, you know, sounds Afrobeat. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we could still ride on that track. So it is a very gray area that we, you know, we just choose to treat everything like, oh, it's either black or white, this or that. Not in black and white race, but just like as far as spectrum goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I last thoughts on being authentic to your culture and being authentically creative.
Okay. Is the camera on me? Stop lying. Because one of my bigger issues with a lot of this like trap lore raw stuff like that is because if you really in like those areas, really in the streets like that, a lot of these rappers be lying. So stop lying.
There you have it. Thank you, Lael, for coming on the podcast and sharing your thoughts, sharing some of your experiences, and just sharing a little bit about, you know, that identity and culture. So thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, as always.
Yes. This has been another episode of the Man Up Club Presents podcast, and we will stay tuned with you guys next time. Shout out to Holy Culture Radio, channel 140 on Sirius XM.